The word tafakari in Swahili means to reflect. As we reflect through the broad area of new literature, let's be exposed to the new world of arts, music, dance, plays, and culture through literary texts. The best way to begin a day is by prayer. So powerful is one's prayer to Jesus Christ that a professional thief got redeemed by a simple remember me. And now, to invoke the presence of Lord Almighty, may I invite Dr. Asha Mary, Assistant Professor of English, to lead us in prayer. Request you all to kindly rise up for the prayer.
Dear God, let's all close your eyes, join your face. Dear God, thank you for giving us the opportunity to gather here today. We ask that you will strengthen us, restore us, inspire us with your love. God, teach us how to choose your way today so each step will lead us closer to you. Help us to keep our heart pure and undivided so that we will take your promise to all the earth. We just ask everything in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, ma'am, for empowering the day with your prayer. Audience, please remain standing for the prayer song led by the department choir, which will be followed by the college song. Kindly sing along, the lyrics will be flashed here.
Now the crystal fountain, where's the healing? God beyond all age. Praise be to Bishop Weber College, the spring of life, the knowledge mine, the gems of Weber bathe in shine. With pride and love, the minds we mold to face and serve the world so bold. With pride and love, the minds we mold to face and serve the world so bold. The songs of strife in time and cold, the torch of truth in heart we hold. We strive and fight in Hebrews fold, the way of life which jumps threshold. We strive and fight in Hebrews fold, the way of life which jumps threshold. Time will sing great Hebrew message, fulfill and adorn this story's page. Praise be to God beyond all age. Praise be to Bishop Weber College, the spring of life, the knowledge mine, the gems of Weber bathe in shine. Praise, praise, Bishop Weber's name, sing out in numbers his mighty fame.
Thank you. Kindly be seated. Thank you, Mr. Matthew Methuselah, for leading the choir. Thank you, Ariels. Your music indeed gave color to the air of the moment.
Small cheer and great welcome makes a merry feast. Now welcome Miss Bleslin of 2nd MA English A, the Vice President of English Literary.
Thank him for always being a great support and encouragement. I'm very much pleased to welcome Dr. Satya Seelan, Vice Principal of esteemed self-finance stream. I thanking him for accepting our invitation in absence here. On behalf of the English Literary Association, I wholeheartedly welcome chief guests from other institutions, and specifically we acknowledge the presence of faculty members who have escorted their students to be with us. I welcome the students participants from other institutions. I'm so privileged to welcome Dr. S. Shobana, Head PG Research Department of English and Dean of Arts. We welcome you, Madam. Dr. Suresh Frederick, UG Head Department of English and Dean of Research and Development. We welcome you, sir. And Dr. C. Dhanapal, Shift 2 Coordinator, Dean of Training and Placement. We welcome you, sir. I welcome Dr. Esther Selvarani, President of English Literary Association. We welcome you, ma'am. Last but not the least, I welcome the faculty members and my student friends, my extended Hebert family. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Bleslin, for the warm welcome.
It is the attribute of a noble woman to share her knowledge and experience, while it is the attribute of a great listener to reward her for the invaluable lessons received. We deem it our honor to invite Dr. S. Shobana, Dean of Arts, Academics, and Head of the Department of English, to felicitate the gathering.
Good morning, student friends. Good morning, the chief guest of today's paper presentation sessions, the beginning, the inauguration, Dr. Khurshid, good morning and most welcome. Good morning and most welcome, my friends, Dr. Suresh Frederick and Dr. Dhanapal, most welcome and good morning for being able to be here despite your hectic work because they are deans. For some time, no, we were trying to settle down, and we are finally together as a team of students and teachers here in these days of so much of work to do, both for students and teachers alike. And so we should first of all be thankful to God for making this time for us, because it's a very precious time to cut out a time separately for students of all the sections to come together, both of shift 1 and 2 of the Department of English. Not only students, staff too. It's a rarity these days, and so we must be inwardly thankful and overtly sharing the thanks with the fellow students and teachers. And hence this time that's been cut out for the 2 days, getting permissions and whatnot, all that goes along as a package. Finally you are here, we are here, trying to celebrate the wisdom of literature. So we are here for a purpose. Specifically, what this particular lit hit will hold for us, as a word that's attached to lit hit 23, says there is a time and there is a place we have to start to reflect on life. And where is the time and which is the place? It's a big question these days still. It lets us know that we have to breathe the spirit of reflection on life itself, which is nothing but literature itself. So are we here for 2 days, not just entertainment in the name of literature, but reflection on what literature is all about. And today we will have so many sessions of presentation of papers in the form of reflections from young students, not only from our college, from various other colleges too. So first and foremost, I'm thankful, I'm elated, overjoyed to welcome the student participants from various other colleges, from various towns, and the staff who have made it possible to accompany them all the way, honoring our invitation. You have come here, prepared your students for a very enterprising competition in the 2 days. I cannot but thank them profusely. It's because, but for them, as competitors, this function will not go. I would like to honor the presence of Dr. Khurshid Begum here, who I heard from many sources is interested in speaking on new literatures. I happened to ask her what her research was, and she said she had done it on, she did it on African literature. And so she should be a resource of a knowledge which is basically the voice of the marginalized. You must have heard about it in your literature classes, and a voice that is revolutionary, a voice that can be at any point of time be called current. It's because it's everybody's voice, a voice that can be so individualistic, a voice which wants an expression at every point of time, whatever the place is, whoever the person is. In some form or other, we are subjugated, marginalized. We happen to feel. We don't have to be necessarily an African, a Canadian, a marginalized caste, a community of people to feel so, but generally there is a complex that works in us. It's because we always mean to move towards upgrading our esteem and status. When we do that, when we attempt it, of course, a sense of subjugation, a sense of somebody suppressing us overcomes us. And so, I'm very thankful today that Madam is here to reflect on how you can personalize that voice of liberation, that spirit of equality and all that. And so are we here. I'm very thankful at this juncture for organizing such a reflective program, a topic on a reflective topic, a program on a reflective topic. I thank Dr. Esther Selvarani Madam, who has been on her toes for over a month or so organizing for this, arranging and organizing ever so many aspects involved in the two-day affair, including the funds. So we must thank her, we must give her utmost cooperation at this juncture. Good. You acknowledge ma'am's efforts, and I expect the same kind of acknowledgement in the form of you're going out to help ma'am in any way, in every way possible to run the two-day affair in a very successful manner. I thank the entire team of organizers for having been all through with her, brainstorming and arranging things. I thank the MC desk. I thank especially Dr. Aarti, who volunteered to groom the MC team. And I must, at this juncture, record it as a kind of a model which should be followed by others too. It's because the department needs such people who volunteer to do work. Thank you, Dr. Aarti, and thank you, the team of Young. MC is there who just offered themselves to be groomed, I would say. They said a willing yes. And so I should thank them very especially, the student friends there. I thank the choristers who rendered a very mellifluous prayer song. We were, of course, taken away from our prayers for some time. The beautiful tune of the song, the way it was rendered, I thank the student friends who rendered the song, and thank very much Mr. Matthew Sala for organizing all the choristers together and bringing out that song in such a grand manner today. Thank you very much, Dr. Asha Mary, who provided a divine start to the program. It's because that's most essential. The hovering spirit should guide us through the 2 days in all aspects, including discipline. I'm thanking most of the time, it's because arranging a program of this scale is not an easy job. When I was asked to give a few words of felicitations, this is what comes to my mind. Thanking all those people who already helped and who are all ready to help, and looking forward to that kind of help from each of you. They say the first rule of life, there are 7 rules for that matter, is to ask for help. So help has been already asked, and I wish and hope the 2 days will prove to be a very productive, fruitful days of reflection on the spirit of the post-colonial or new literatures, for which Madam will set the tone, and may you, in your own space of freedom, enjoy the 2 days affair. As much as you enjoy yourselves, you also must make it a point to drink deep of the spirit of freedom and equality that which new literatures bring to you. So thank you very much, organizers, for giving us the opportunity to reflect on the theme and welcome and thank the chief guest, because I usually feel that I should personally welcome and thank the chief guest. It's because every chief guest is important. For every function we organize, because we don't just like that invite anybody. We pick, choose, do a lot of analysis before we invite somebody, and so I would like to personally extend my thanks once again to Dr. Khurshid Madam, and most welcome all of you, especially student friends and teachers who have accompanied those students from various other colleges. It's because today and tomorrow are going to be your competitions, you are the competitors, and our students will be there by your side as audience, spectators, and give you the due support. So may you have a great time today and tomorrow, and thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your words of wisdom, encouragement, and appreciation. No person was ever honored for what he received. Honor has been the reward for what he gave. A very special welcome and sincere thanks to our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Khurshid Begum, for her presence today. We deem it our privilege to honor her. May I kindly request Dr. Shobna, Dean of Arts and Head of the Department, to adorn our Chief Guest with a shawl. Thank you, ma'am. I now request Dr. Suresh Frederick, Dean of Research and Development and the UG Head of the Department, to present the Chief Guest with a memento as an expression of gratitude. Thank you, sir. I now kindly request Mr. Sam Daniel of 2nd MA Aided to introduce the Woman of the Hour, the Chief Guest, Dr. Khurshid Begum. Over to you, Sam.
It is indeed an honor for me to welcome and introduce the chief guest for the literary extravaganza, LitIt 23, Dr. R. Khurshid Begum. She is an assistant professor of English at St. Joseph's College, Tiruchirappalli. She is the additional dean of IQAC at St. Joseph's College. She has published around 15 research articles in reputed journals, and her minor research project on African American drama in 2012, titled Complexity of Interactions Among Race, Family, Sexuality, Class and Culture in the Select Plays of Susan Laurie Parks, was funded by the University Grants Commission. Under her tenure as the additional dean of IQAC, St. Joseph's College was identified as the mentor institution by UGC under the scheme Paramarsh, wherein the college was awarded a grant of around 30 lakhs for monitoring and mentoring 6 non-accredited HEI programs. She was instrumental in establishing JOSTEL learning management system that has more than 30 complete courses with testing and evaluation. She was influential in establishing the Research Development Center, a startup center that has produced 16 products. Ma'am, to enlist your accomplishments as an outstanding leader goes on and on. Ma'am has chaired and served as the resource person for many conferences and workshops. She is an amazing leader and a reservoir of knowledge, and it is always a wonderful thing to drink from the minds of those who have labored long, hard, and well. I would like to thank you in advance, ma'am, for giving us the priceless gems you have uncovered over the years in your speech. Without further delay, I would like to invite you to drench us with your knowledge and experience. Ma'am, the lectern is yours. Thank you.
A pleasant morning to everybody gathered here. Dr. Shobana, Head of the Department of English, Dr. Suresh Frederick, Dr. Dhanapal, dear professors, and my dear students. So I think it's a very pleasant day. Like I do not know how it's outside, but inside, like the hall, it's really pleasant. It feels so good to be with you. You're all so happy, like dressed up, dolled up. I don't want to use the word dolled up, but then you feel so special today, right? Everybody feels so special because you identify yourself as an individual, but also as a member of a community or a group. The different color groups that I see, everything is so vibrant, so colorful, so brilliant. So I hope I understand your spirit, and you're all in a festive mood too. I do understand you have a lot of activities, competitions and stuff, but then you're all here to listen to a lecture. In the morning, a lecture on new literatures to post-colonial literatures, theory, right? Literary theory, but you're all so well behaved, all sitting in a very disciplined way. Fine, it feels so good to be sharing my ideas with you. Okay, so I would like to first of all thank the organizers, with a special word of thanks to Dr. Shobana, Dr. Frederick, Dr. Dhanapal, and Dr. Esther for contacting me and inviting me to be here and to be presenting this talk to you on new literatures in English to post-colonial studies. So when Dr. Esther contacted me and she gave me the topic, new literatures in English, I thought like new literatures in English is, a place where it all, I won't say began, but then it's a kind of an in-between space. From Commonwealth literatures to post-colonial literatures, new literatures is an in-between space, and there was an evolution, and it has all come to this culmination point called post-colonial studies. So this is the trajectory, this is the idea that we are going to gain today, how it all started as Commonwealth studies or Commonwealth literature, how it transformed into new literatures, and then how it moved to post-colonial studies. So without much ado, let's get into the topic. Next, please. I hope the screen is visible, right? And there's a quotation on the screen. Until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify the hunter. So it's one of the popular quotes that I like very much, written by a Zimbabwean novelist, Marayar. Until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify the hunter. So look at this, it's not talking about a deer, it's not talking about a rabbit. The quotation does not talk about some meek animal, some very cute and cuddly animal. Definitely no, it talks about the lion, okay? And so normally, hunters are glorified. People who have power, people who have, all authority and control are celebrated. All our histories are about power and control and authority, right? May it be kings or queens or politicians, statesmen, whoever it may be. So if you are powerful, you are celebrated. If you are powerful, you are written about, okay? But then only when the lion, starts writing, when it learns how to write, okay, you'll know the other side of the story. So it's not the rabbit that's going to write, it's the lion that's going to write. So maybe all these colonized countries, it can be India, it can be Africa, the different African countries, Canada, or all the colonized countries. Okay, they are not just meek countries, they are lions in themselves, okay, they are giants in themselves, they are great nations in themselves. Of course, there was not this concept called nationhood or nationality is well established in those days. But then, every country, every, mass of land was a lion in itself, okay. So, post-colonial studies or post-colonial literatures is all about, lions that had started writing, okay, and proving to the world that they too need a kind of a history which was really great, and a recording of this kind of a great history. So that is post-colonial literatures. So for everything there's an origin, right? And the post-colonial studies or new literatures in English, you know, in whatever way you want to term it, like had some origins. It all started with colonialism. So when did colonialism begin? We cannot, I think it's the next slide, okay, after that quotation. We cannot say for sure when colonialism started. So when human beings started wandering around the earth, colonialism started, like one group, one community colonizing the other, one group dominating the other. So if domination can be called colonizing, colonialism had begun, you know, many centuries back, thousands and thousands of years back. But then in the 16th century, colonialism became a widespread concept, a widespread reality. And in the 19th century, 19th century is called the heyday of colonialism. So it was countries like England, France, Spain, okay, they were all powerful, okay, establishing colonies and all, fighting, vying with one another to establish colonies in various parts of the world, and England being the most successful country, okay. So fine. When things are going on this way, like we all know how the colonized countries suffered, I don't have to repeat that sad story, very, I should say, very depressing kind of narratives. So let's not go into those sufferings. But then there will be one point, one period of time when people realize that whatever is going on is not fine. Okay. Say for example, like women are all there as slaves in the households, in the society, doing only household chores. But then there was one point when they realized that they were not slaves anymore. Okay, they were not suppressed beings anymore. They too deserved rights like other human beings, fellow human beings, especially men. Okay, so in the same way, it all began in the 1920s with the Harlem Renaissance. Those students who are familiar with American literature will be familiar with this concept called Harlem Renaissance, which was a kind of, so it was so full of life. African American writing, African American writers understanding their potential as writers, understanding their potential as good human beings who deserve equal treatment, okay, a treatment that is the same as the treatment that is given to the white Americans. So all these people moved to this place called Harlem, which is in New York, and they started writing a lot. Okay, it became the hub of African American writers who started writing about the greatness of African Americans, celebrating the richness of African culture. Okay, so gradually, it moved to France, where you find the negritude movement. You have this idea called black is beautiful, right? Earlier, black was considered to be something ugly, something bad, something wrong, something horrible, okay? You find, African American slaves or even Africans outside America treated in a very bad manner because they thought like, their physical appearance was, not up to the standard that was set by the white people, Europeans and Americans together. Okay, all this slavery and, transatlantic slavery, I think I might have read about all these things. And in France, France had established a lot of colonies in Africa and other parts, and even in Canada. And so there were a lot of black intellectuals, I'm not sorry to use the word black, who had moved over to France. And they started this movement, especially Leopold Ségur, Aimé Césaire and writers, okay, thinkers, who started this movement called Negritude movement, which celebrated the greatness of black people, okay, with this great slogan, black is beautiful, okay. So post-colonial literatures or new literatures in English eventually, initially had, their origins in American writing, okay, and then it moved to French writing, and then at the same time there was a lot of struggle in India. So it doesn't mean like only the Americans and French were really into independence or into equality. It was also these Indians who were struggling against the British power. Of course, there were different factions, different ideas, different entities, different groups, okay, under taking different notions of freedom, different ways to attain freedom. So we are not going to look into those details, but then India was also a hub of equality, struggle for equality. So what were these people trying to do? To get a cultural self-definition and political self-determination. So they wanted both. Colonialism put down made people lose their cultural identity, okay, across the world. And it also deprived a community of its political identity, okay, a social identity, cultural identity. And this is what the thinkers were claiming for cultural self-definition and political self-determination. That's what they wanted. Next. So this great thinker, psychiatrist, French psychiatrist named Frantz Fanon, who started writing about national cultures and national literatures. So earlier there was no such concept called national culture, national literatures. Okay. So as far as these people are concerned, the colonized nations are concerned. So India was divided into different little kingdoms, small kingdoms. Okay, all these rules by zamindars and great people. Sometimes kings who had lost their titles as kings and who were under who were really the puppets of the British people who were there. And even in Africa, all these communities have lost their identity and stuff. But now Frantz Fanon gave voice for the establishment of national cultures and national literatures. So he thought it should be a writing, okay, based on any national literature. It should be based on the experiences of the people in their immediate cultural environment. It's not like writing about something that you do not know, that you're not familiar with, that you do not totally understand. If an Englishman writes a novel about a community in Africa, will he be able to do justice to that community? Definitely no, because he doesn't know anything about the community. Maybe what he knows is only some 10 to 20%. So it's only the person who belongs to a particular community in Africa or a tribe in Africa who has a complete knowledge system about his own community and who will be able to express it through his writing. So in that way, Frantz Fanon claimed that all these people, may it be from Africa or from India or from any country for that matter, they should develop their own national literatures. Any literature, okay, that is national, that is created out of the cultural environment, that is the immediate cultural environment. So that was one big voice of Frantz Fanon. And next was Chinua Achebe. We all know this great writer Achebe, who in his 1974 essay Colonialist Criticism started criticizing or presenting a critique of Western ideology. So he says Western criticism or Western way of approaching literature presents certain universal qualities for literature, and he says all these universal qualities are not universal qualities, they are only European qualities found in a universal disguise, he says. So whatever they think is best, whatever they think is good is adorned with this disguise called the universal disguise and is presented to the people, whereas whatever suits them will not suit these people, that is the colonized people. It can be people of Africa or of India or from Asia. So two thinkers, okay, talking about two different ideas that kind of created a revolution. And you're familiar with this idea called liberal humanism. Liberal humanism says that life or art must transcend. Okay, so we are wallowing misery, we are wallowing in suffering. Okay, so art has the capability of transcending its time. Art has the capability of transcending its place. So if there is a novel that is written by an Indian, okay, so what do the English people do? What do the Europeans do? They took that particular work of art out of its place, out of its setting, out of its time, and placed in a different place, okay, so which was considered to be universal, and they thought the values that are taught, or maybe the characters engaging in dialogues or in relationships or talking about issues, maybe love or valor or courage or war, so that was considered to be universal, which will be applicable to the whole world, okay, which is in the sense universal. So that is one important tenet of liberal humanism. But people like Frantz Fanon or Chinua Achebe and even other post-colonial thinkers or thinkers belonging to this idea called new literatures, they were against this idea. So they said art need not transcend its immediate time and place, because art is created, art is situated in a particular time and place. So the author, with a lot of purpose, with a lot of meaning, locates his or her art at a particular place. So why should you take it away? Why should you root it out and place it somewhere else, to be considered universal? That was the question that was put forth by all these great writers. Next. So what happened was England was writing a lot of literatures. France was creating its own literatures. And people from the colonized, countries started creating their own literatures. They started writing in English. Earlier they were writing in their own, languages, indigenous languages. Africa had a lot of thousands of indigenous languages, and India had hundreds of languages. So these people started writing not only in their own languages, but they had started choosing English as their mode of communication. So, they started writing their own colonies. These colonies started writing literatures in English. The power with which England is vested. Okay, so England said, you are my colony, okay, and you are writing a literature from my as part of my kingdom, and so whatever you write belongs to me. Okay, so that was the attitude. So there's nothing special called African literature. There's nothing special called Indian literature. There is nothing called maybe Canadian literature. Whatever literature is written in a colony becomes my literature. So that was the voice that was put forth by England. So England established this Commonwealth of Nations. Okay, so bringing all the colonized countries, colonized entities under this thing called Commonwealth of Nations. So whatever literature emerged from these colonies belonging to Commonwealth of Nations were termed as Commonwealth literatures. Okay, so this is where you find the first idea of literatures being associated with colonialism or post-colonialism. Okay, so whatever literature that was emerging from any colony for that matter was considered to be the product of this Commonwealth idea, which was controlled by England. And people started there was initially some kind of protest, and people did not like it. They thought it's my literature, I wrote it in my country, maybe as an Indian I write. Okay, so I think why should I bring this literature under this banner called Commonwealth literature? So that was the question. And the people also started realizing that whatever was considered to be a common literature was so full of tinged with this idea called Eurocentrism. So Europe, why should Europe be always in the center? They say the other countries are all marginalized. They're all in the margin somewhere, neglected, totally, let out. So England was there, all powerful, okay, dominating all these, pockets of ideas in the margins. So they started fighting against this Eurocentrism. So people from Asia, from Africa, from Caribbean, so they started writing a lot, and all these were memories of colonialism. So which did away with the humanistic superiority of the Europeans. You might have heard of this idea called the white man's burden, right? It was always the white man who is supposed to civilize the world, because the whole world was too brutal, or all people were cannibals over there. They did not have culture, they did not have civilization. So it's only the white man who has the power to, or who has the responsibility to take these people out of their ignorance and ignominy. Okay, so these people started creating their own memories of colonialism, and they said, we do not approve of this term called Commonwealth literary studies or Commonwealth literature, and we need a different term. Okay, so the name given to such literatures that were created in the colonies or from the colonies was new literatures in English. Okay, so that is how the topic that is assigned to you today for all your competitions is new literatures in English. Okay, so now Commonwealth literatures kind of forcefully created a common ground between the metropolis, that is England, okay, and the colonies. So the other countries colonized by England, okay, and the literature is written in these places, and literature that was written in England. So a common ground was formed somewhere. But what is the difference between common literatures and new literatures or post-colonial literatures? it talks about, or it focuses on the tension between the metropolis and the colonies. Okay, when Commonwealth literature tries to find a common ground between literatures written in the metropolis and the colonies, post-colonial literatures or post-colonial theory tries to identify the tension between the metropolis and the colonies. This is one important idea that we have to remember. So what is the focus of new literatures, or which later emerged into post-colonial theory or post-colonial studies or post-colonial literatures? So it's a cultural displacements. Okay, so when there is colonization, definitely there is cultural displacement, and its consequences for personal and communal identities. You lose your identity, you lose your language, you lose your culture, you lose your the clothing style, you lose your the way you eat, the food that you prepare, everything is lost. So your culture is lost, your cultural identity is lost, your personal identity is lost. And they started writing from a non-Eurocentric perspective. Okay, so whatever England was doing was presenting everything from a Eurocentric perspective. Whatever these people were doing was trying to present things from a non-Eurocentric perspective. And Commonwealth literatures, post-colonial literatures also critique aggressively expansionist imperialism. So there's no sense of value attached with imperialism. No, it's aggressively expansionist imperialism. Look at the way these words are put together. And post-colonial studies also study how the displaced have culturally defended themselves. Okay, so there's a kind of a displacement that these people feel, and they have to take a defensive stand, and they have to protect their own interests, and how they have culturally defended themselves is also presented in post-colonial theory. Okay, and it also exposes the internal doubts and instances of resistance. So there's always, all these moments, all the moments in life, it's a combination of two things. One is like you're so comfortable, but then inside like you're also kind of diffident. You don't feel that very comfortable because you have your own doubts. Okay, so that is how human relationships are forged. Okay, so that is how relationships between nations are forged. So, there are close similarities among postmodernism, post-structuralism and post-colonialism, because whenever people talk about post-colonialism, they focus on only this idea of colonialism and post-colonialism. But then post-colonialism has drawn very heavily from ideas like postmodernism and post-structuralism. So first of all, it draws from Bakhtin's dialogism. So it's not like a monologism. Dialogism talks about the relationship between the reader, the writer and the text. Okay, so how these interactions are formed. And it also draws heavily on Lacanian psychoanalysis, especially the way identity is formed. And it relies heavily on Foucault's ideas, especially knowledge and power. Like I don't think time will permit me to discuss these things in detail, but then I'll just throw these ideas at you so that when you're free, like after the competitions are over, you can reflect and get a lot of ideas about these things. And also gets its cue from Francois Lyotard's grand narratives. So these meta-narratives, the more important call of postmodernism, say no to grand narratives or meta-narratives. Okay, so it also talks about like Linda Hutchin, another postmodern thinker. Slide. So postmodernism and post-structuralism direct their critique at the unified humanist subject, whereas post-colonialism undermines the imperialist subject. So these are the prominent, next please, post-colonial thinkers. I've brought in these images. These are very, very important images. That's why I've brought in. The first is Frantz Fanon, as I've already told you, who is a French psychiatrist. The next is Edward Said. Okay, I think Edward Said is the most prominent of these post-colonial thinkers, who is a Palestinian American. And the next is Homi K. Bhabha, who is an Indian thinker, who is born in Bombay. Okay, the next. So now let's move to Edward Said's idea of Orientalism. I think you are familiar with this concept. Most of you must have been familiar with this concept of Orientalism. Orientalism is a book that was published by Edward Said in 1978 that talks about how West had constructed East. It's not how West has recorded East, definitely no. How the West has constructed East. So Orientalism is a construction, okay, a very false construction of the East. So the East, and I always have this doubt as to what you mean by East. East to who? Okay, West to who? Okay, if you turn the other way around, the East becomes West to somebody, and West becomes East to somebody. So look at the point of location from which the world is viewed. Again, Eurocentric. Okay, so it is there. The West is there. It's in the center, and to it, to its east we have the Orient, and then we call ourselves the East. So England and France and other colonizing powers have always represented the East in the way they saw the East. Okay, so full of manipulations. I think even nowadays, repeatedly I've been sharing these piece of information in my classroom, especially to my postgraduate class students. You might have watched a lot of episodes on National Geographic channel or Discovery channel. How is India projected? India is projected as a land of tigers, as a land of cheetahs, as a land of very poisonous snakes. Always, there's a tiger, crouching to, barge on a little kid, who doesn't even wear proper dress, torn trousers and, topless little boys walking around, or very innocently standing, and the tiger crouching and attacking the little. So this is how India is presented by, the Western people. So all these stereotypical images, stereotypical ideas. So this is the kind of a presentation that is made by the West as far as the East is concerned. So Edward Said very clearly exposes the West for the kind of Orientalist ideas that the West presents. So the most important concept in Orientalism is discourse. Okay, how an idea is created. Okay, and the idea that suits the purpose of the person who is in power. Okay. So it focuses on power relationships in society expressed through language and practices. So Edward Said focuses a lot on discourse analysis. Discourse, another important idea brought in by Foucault. So Orientalism, according to Said, is a conscious and determined effort at subordination. So very purposefully. It's not like they are very innocent. It's not like maybe I do not know your culture, I do not know where you're from, I do not know what your practices are. So if you really want to write about me, know my culture, know my practices, know who I am, and then start writing about me. Okay, that is the demand of people. Whereas the Westerners, in a very carefully manipulative, strategic way, they create a kind of history, they create a kind of write-up that will put down, that will subordinate the people of the colonies. Okay, and it was serving hegemonic purposes. I hope you understand this idea of hegemony. Hegemony, an idea that was put forth by Antonio Gramsci, okay, and which means domination by consent. So you do not know you're being dominated, but then you say you're fine with that, you're okay with that. Okay, so when you say you're supposed to wear only saris, and sari makes you look very beautiful, and you wear you apply Fair and Lovely on your face, or men fair and handsome, and you look really beautiful, really look handsome and cute and stuff, you immediately accept it. You don't even think whether this is fine, whether it's going to happen. Fair and handsome pota vella, you're not going to think. You just want to apply it, and you wait for the results, and you keep on waiting for the results. Okay, so it's velvet domination. And so you go to all these stores, special stores, and Reliance or other, and you go buy dresses. It's all the same dresses of different sizes, and there's no choice at all for you. The same thing. So, but then you accept it. Domination by consent. That's it, and that is how your culture is violated. Your ideology is violated. So that is hegemony. So it's domination of a set of ruling beliefs and values through consent rather than through coercive power. Nobody is threatening you to do this. Nobody is forcefully, asking you to do this. But they'll just float the idea and they'll accept the idea, and that is hegemony. So Orientalism is also a kind of a hegemonic presentation of the East. So what does Orientalism do? Orientalism critiques, okay, what? The Eurocentric perspective, the factors that legitimize Western expansionism, and it also critiques false representations that are presented in with a kind of disinterested objectivity. So the English writer says, okay, when he writes about India, he says like, I'm totally objective, I'm not subjective, I'm not for the country, I'm not presenting my subjective views, rather it's very objective, and it also critiques binary opposition. So you always have these binaries, good versus bad, tall versus short, and good versus not bad, evil, okay, light versus darkness. In the same way, like man versus woman, mind versus body. In the same way, west versus the east, okay. So in that way, like whatever is rational, man versus woman, whatever is rational becomes powerful in the binary, and whatever is kind of sensuous or sensual or weak, becomes the opposite pole of the binary. So that is how the East is presented. When West is looked upon as very rationalistic, very full of intelligence, full of intellect, the East is presented to be very exotic, sensuous, beautiful, colorful, okay, and very emotional, and very, the modern term is hot and sexy. So again, Orientalism also critiques center and the marginalized other. So next thinker is Homi Bhabha. We have discussed Edward Said. Now we are moving over to Homi Bhabha. Homi Bhabha talks about very important concepts like hybridity, mimicry, and liminality. If you read your postcolonial theory, you will be familiar with these ideas. In his book, The Location of Culture, 1994, he talks about the relationship between the colonizer and the colonized. Earlier, it was believed that the colonizer, that is the colonizing power, will not be disturbed by the colonized. Okay, the colonized is a servant or a slave, whereas the colonizer is the all-powerful person over there, and he is so full of power that he will not be disturbed or he will not be influenced by the ordinary people in the colony. But then it was Homi Bhabha who broke this idea. He said it's, in both ways, interaction is in both ways. So it's not only the colonized who is influenced by the colonizer, but the colonizer is also influenced by the colonized. So it was Homi Bhabha who first put forth this idea of hybridity. So whatever art is created, whatever literature is created, whatever communication is made, there's always this concept of hybridity. And by mimicry, he means, when the colonized begins to mimic, okay, the powerful personality, that is the colonizer over there, like it kind of unsettles the colonizer. Okay, he does not know whether the person is very earnestly trying to talk like him, or whether he is kind of ironic, or whether he is full of sarcasm, or whether he is teasing him. He doesn't know. So mimicry can be taken in a positive way to some extent, but it's kind of very, very negative. Mimicry is very negative in the sense it unsettles the reputation of the person, the colonizer. So the next is I've already discussed this, what hybridity is and what the other ideas are. Like so this relationship between the colonizer and the colonized is filled with this idea called ambivalence or duality. So you do not know, like whether you're here or whether you're there, or like whether you're completely original and pure as a colonized power entity, or whether you're pure and there very strong and powerful as a colonizing power. Okay, that is it. So there's always this idea of hybridity. Okay, now we move over to the last thinker, Spivak. I've moved to Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, who talks about the concept of subaltern. Very, very important. Okay, so subaltern is somebody who is marginalized, somebody who is downtrodden, who is oppressed or suppressed. There's a subtle difference between oppression and suppression, right? It also Spivak also addresses gender blindness in postcolonial theory. She was the first to articulate this idea of gender blindness. So all these postcolonial theorists were talking about the sufferings of men, or the disappointments of men, or the colonial experiences as experienced by men. Okay, so it was Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak who, she is the woman who translated Derrida. I hope you know that. Okay, very, very great intellectual, because to translate Derrida means like you have to think like Derrida, right? And so the Can the Subaltern Speak is a very, very popular writing by Spivak, and where she talks about the female subaltern. So female, if it is a subaltern is marginalized. The female subaltern is doubly marginalized. So she introduces this term called double marginalization. Okay, so the Indian is marginalized, a male. Okay, an Indian male is marginalized. Is made into a subaltern by this white power, okay, capitalistic, imperial power. But female in India is doubly marginalized. She is marginalized not only by the Western power, but also by the male power in India. So in that way, she is doubly marginalized. So next. Another, I would like to end with this important concept called, post-colonial feminism. So maybe some 3 or 4 slides, I think. In the 1980s, is another idea branched out from post-colonialism, which is called post-colonial feminism. So it critiqued mainstream feminism because it thought like mainstream feminism was talking only about the elite white women, okay, the first world, women. And it was also critiquing the male-dominated post-colonial studies. So women thought, post-colonial feminists thought like women's representation was not found in post-colonial writings. Okay, and post-colonial writings did not talk much on the experiences of women as colonized entities or people. It also talked about the impacts of racism and effects of colonialism on non-white women, non-Western women in the post-colonial world. Think about a country like Africa. Think about the predicament of the African women in Africa under the colonizing powers, under imperialism. It's horrible. I think you might have read a lot of plays and a lot of stories and short stories from the land of Africa. Okay, it all talks about how men take, as many wives as possible. Even things fall apart. You have Okonkwo, the hero, who has taken 3 wives, right? He has got 3 huts in his compound, 3 wives, and whenever he's angry, he beats his wife. He even tries to shoot a killer with a pistol, but then somehow it misses, and a lot of things. So the male power in all these cultures in all these countries, and the female idea, which is kind of underrepresented. So that is this idea, and very closely associated with post-colonial feminism is third world feminism. And all these writers, feminist writers, they want or they give importance to agency or voice, agency, the capacity to act, the power to act, the power to articulate. That is what you mean by agency. So that is post-colonial feminism, and the most important post-colonial feminist is Chandra Mohanty. Okay. Of course, an Indian now in New York. Okay, she has written an essay in 1984, Under Western Eyes, where she talks about how third world women are homogenized by Western white feminism. So white feminists think like all the women are same. Again, a kind of universalizing idea. What the British did in those days, when they created this idea called Commonwealth literatures, is done by the white feminists because they think all the women are same. But whereas these people say all the women are not same. Okay, a woman in America is different from a woman in Africa. A woman in Africa is definitely different from a woman in India because of the cultural mores, because of the cultural milieus, and a lot of other things. Things that put them down, things that suppress them, things that oppress them, and things that also liberate them. In that way, like all the women are not same. And closely associated with this post-colonial feminist concept is, intersectionality, where, like you are a woman, okay, and that is one point of suppression, and you are a black woman, that is another point of oppression. You are a poor black woman, okay, that is yet another point of suppression. You are a poor black woman with a disability. Okay, think about all these things, come together. And there are other things, ableism, nationality. Imagine like she comes from a very, very poor country, okay, and many ideas, so all these very powerful pockets of power, okay, intersect together, and a woman who is under these intersections find herself permanently oppressed. Okay, so that is intersectionality. So third world feminism is very closely associated with this idea of intersectionality. and it tries to, bring women, enhance or, situate women in a different plane that will really elevate them from the clutches of these intersections of powers like categories like race, class, gender, and other ideas. Okay, so here you have Audrey Lorde, who listen to these titles. The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. Age, race, class, and sex, women redefining a difference. So she questions this concept of other, how white feminism and imperialism other black women. Okay, so that is one important idea. And there is this writer called Ethel Crowley. I think she's a Canadian writer who has written an article, Third World Women and the Inadequacies of Western Feminism. So she says freedom does not mean the same thing to all, which is very, very important. Okay, so that is one important idea. And there are other feminists, post-colonial feminists like Anita Van Herk, who has written this article called A Gentle Circumcision. And she says, try being a female and living in the kingdom of the male virgin. Try being a female and writing in the kingdom of the male virgin. So it's going to be very, very difficult, she says. And there is this idea of double colonization put forth by Peterson and Rutherford. So double colonization in the sense, you are colonized by imperialism and you are also colonized by male dominance. So these are the ideas. So I was trying to introduce this idea of the way how post-colonial literatures or post-colonial theory originated, okay, and with special reference to Harlem Renaissance and Negritude movement in France, and then we moved to how Commonwealth literatures was created, the concept of Commonwealth literatures was created, and then we moved to see like how people are not happy about that, and we got an insight into what new literatures in English are all about. And again, people are not content about this idea of new literatures, and there was a smooth transition into post-colonial studies, post-colonial literatures, and post-colonial theory. So even in post-colonial literatures, we had a look into people like Edward Said, Franz Fanon First, Edward Said, and Homi Bhabha, and thinkers like Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, and we have finally come to this place where we discussed post-colonial feminism. I think I have I've thrown some light. Okay, so it's not exhaustive in itself, but in the 45 minutes that has been assigned to it, it's exactly 45 minutes. I have tried to introduce you to the idea. Most of you must have been familiar, but those students who are new to this idea, just take it and think about it, okay, read about it, and it's a very, very important theory, a very important idea. There are a lot of important key concepts that will be very useful for you for your, post-graduation research or doctoral research, okay, and many other branching out areas, okay, as far as post-colonialism is concerned. So I hope you had got a general picture, general idea of what new literatures in English or post-colonial theory is all about. So with that, I would like to end here thanking everybody for the opportunity, the head of the department, the deans, everybody who are present here, the professors, and my dear students who listened in a very patient way. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us with the history of post-colonial literature and its prominent writers. Your artistic delivery has indeed transcended time and place and transported us to various native lands. Once again, thank you for gracing our stage with your valuable insights.
Music is healing. Music holds things together. Music is the universal language of mankind. We have a department choir to take us into the musical world through the melting voices.
This is for the kind attention to the paper presenters. The venues for the paper presentation would be displayed on the projector screen. Kindly have a look at it. If you have any doubts, kindly contact the MC desk. I repeat, the venues for the paper presentation would be displayed in the projector screens. Kindly have a look at it. If you have any doubts, please visit the MC desk. Thank you.
you for the choir team for their wonderful performance. I now invite the beautiful audience to brace yourself for a high-octane dose of entertainment. As we all know, dance has no barriers. It is something that everyone can feel, understand, and be elated. I now invite the dance team for their wonderful performance.
It's just another night, just another fight for my life. It's alright because everything dies. Nobody know why. Nothing I go do, nothing you go do when you're feeling like you're falling and you can't find nothing to hold on to. Memories of who carry me go, oh no, yeah. Sikata, yata, fita, make me far away. Mr. DJ, make me grab a ye. Now man no be just anybody. Now make a no be shy. Body on it, make me mad. I don't sky, I only mad. My body on it, make me mad. On my whole world is set on fire, don't leave me alone.
Quand je suis arrivé, les petits se sont demandé ce qui se passe au haut. Tellement les petits a beaucoup d'inspiration pour déranger. Venez position pour danser, venez position pour bouger. Y'a qu'à topina pour danser.
My baby, my Valentine.
Não, né, não.
Abusada mente.
Abusada mente.
Mas só que a profissão das minas é
Abusadamente ela vai batendo, bum, bum. Ela vai sentando, bum, bum. Ela vai quicando, bum, 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 bum.
Nimda, those rats tell me. Har tabush crack oikinim bomla. Mohino zuku, lo hakwe.
Thank you, dance team, for the energetic and graceful dance performance. As Wordsworth points out, the spontaneous overflow of feelings, it takes its origin from emotions recollected in tranquility. I now invite Shantini Devi of 2nd MA English Literature for her words that are worthy to render our ears to.
Good morning, everyone. So, I'm going to start my poem. Just listen. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay. I lived that day in the meadows of starry black nights under my sleeping sheet. I dreamt of being in a classroom full of art and literature. Books of pages filled with every language crossing my mind, filled with voices of Shelley, Byron, and Tagore. Flipping through pages of my own life, years ago, I turned to the chapter of my college life. With revision past, I dreamt an aesthetic. Oh, it wasn't great, I thought. Yes, but it was so much better than great. I lived and will live in the clumsy messes of my own life with perfect flaws of my past. A pretty day with all my people, I say you. My people, let's take a journey to the literary paradise that we exist. Poems that made us emotional, theories that raised us empowered. I promise I don't just mean feminism, I mean it all. Hell we had seen through histories, deconstruction we wrecked on colonialism. No more post-colonialism, and here is our new literatures. Now hold on. Let's take right and ride through the memories that we are up to cherish. Classroom benches that will uphold our name badges from here on. Friendships that we earned for life. Canteens that fed us when we were hungry. Nicknames that will never shred us off from our gene. Relationship that left us with scars and more lovable narrations. The so-called another home in months are named finally that redefine so many of our life. In the least, it is the hostel life. Students to be changed as scholars or professionals, we are all grown. We are all grown now. But yeah, we still possess our school's golden box of memories, isn't it? Life in nutshells is possible just through past. Our academic life here might not have just taught us literature and language, but the life itself. It has made us from more human. Since we are from the humanities, be human people. Society may offer you everything and anything that you want, but be yourself and just be you. Cherish every moment, live your life. After all, life is to be lived. After all, life is to be lived. I'm not Wordsworth, nor am I Keats. I'm just trying to be cathartic. With so much pleasure, I hope I leave you all with the faces full of smiles, looking at the friends with through the frames of your college life's crest, that dashing and dazzling spark in all your eyes. Thank you.
We are forever grateful that you read our mind. Thank you, Shantini Devi, for your imaginative words. Culture, it is an important part of our upbringing. And it is because of our culture, we are who we are, both as a nation and as an individual. Our country's culture and ethnicity is something we identify ourselves with and we are proud of it. So, we should consider ourselves privileged that we are getting to showcase the cultural glory of our nation. On top of it all, we have students of English literature that are Pradiksha, Jyoti Prana, Narmada and Betsida of Shift 2 who would depict Indian art forms through their performances. We welcome you girls.
healer, awesome in power, our God. Our God. Into the darkness you shine, out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you, none like you. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power, our God. Our God. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power, our God. Our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then who could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? Then what could stand against? Then what could stand against? Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power, our God. Our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what can stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what can stand against? Then what can stand against? Then what can stand against?
Thank you, team, for your wonderful song. Now I welcome Pradiksha, Jyoti Prana, Narmada, and Betsida for their performances.
Thank you for amazing the audience with a visual treat. It was an astounding dexterity.
Ciao.
Premiumbeat.com.
Hi everyone. How many of you like Chota Beam? Can I hear Chota Beam? Okay, we'll hear a mimicry, okay?
Hey Beam, what are you doing this early in the morning?
Can't you see Dolu Bolu? I'm exercising to beat God. Chota Beam.
Obviously Beam is far better than you, Kalia. How are you going to prove it?
Just wait and see Dolu Bolu.
Beam, my mother prepared special laddus for us since we are going on a trip.
I will make sure that you won't eat this in your lifetime. Beam, we have to teach this bad witch a lesson.
Don't worry, Raju. Let's see the laddu first. Thank you.
Thank you, team. It was an enthralling performance of visual treat. We are astounded by the dexterity of Pratiksha, Jyoti and Narmada. And thank you, Ms. Betsida, for the fitting and entertaining mimicry.
No duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. To give a perfect end of this inauguration, we now request Ms. Carol Jennifer Grace of West MA English A, Office Bearer of English Literary Association, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Before Ms. Carol begins, an important announcement. Kindly stay back for the photo session. After the vote of thanks, the photo session for the individual classes are arranged. Students are requested to kindly stay back for it. Thank you.
On behalf of English Literary Association, Bishop Ebo College, I extend a hearty vote of thanks to our chief guest, Dr. R. Khurshid Begum, who spared time from her busy schedule and gave us the opportunity to hear her thoughts of wisdom. I thank you, ma'am. I thank our beloved principal, Dr. Paul Dayabaran, in absence here, for his tremendous support and for the activities of the department. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our vice principals, Mr. Alagappa Moses and Dr. Satya Seelan, also in absence here. I like to thank profusely our friends and hearty participants of various other institutions who heeded to our invite in a very short notice. Thank you, friends, for your love and support. I also take this immense pleasure in thanking Dr. S. Shobana, Head of Department and Dean of Arts, Dr. Suresh Frederick, UG Head and Dean of Research and Development, Dr. C. Dhanabal, Coordinator of Shift 2 English, Dean of Training and Placement. Last but not least, I also thank Dr. Esther Selvarani, President of English Literary Association, for contributing towards the academic and co-curricular excellence of our students for gracing this occasion. I also thank all the staff members, coordinators, technicians, IT support, office bearers, vice presidents, treasurer and secretaries for their active participation for the inaugural of LitHit 2023. Thank you, everyone.
It is indeed a thankless job to propose the vote of thanks, and I would like to extend my gratitude towards Carol for doing the honors. Students, kindly stay back for the photo session. We would request all the classes to come one by one when called upon. I request the first BA aided to be ready for the photo session. Once the arrangement is done on the stage, we would call you. Kindly accompany along with your class teacher if your class teacher is present. I repeat, first BA English aided students, be ready and come along with your class teacher if your class teacher is present here. Followed by them would be first BA section A. I request the office bearers to report to the MC desk. I request the boys office bearers to request to assemble in the MC desk. I apologize. I request the male office bearers to report to the MC desk. I repeat, I request the male office bearers to report to the MC desk.
Dear boys, kindly come running to the MC desk. Male office bearers, request you to kindly come running at fast pace to the MC desk. Students of first BA, kindly assemble near the stage. All three sections of first BA get ready. Students of first BA aided, kindly assemble near the stage.